Huge thanks to Sakuriko and Tokyo Treat for sponsoring this video. Yo, what's up? My name is Patrouski, and I've been playing PokeMMO for 10 years, and I've seen a lot of weird ins and outs of this game, so I feel myself hopefully qualified to make a PokeMMO Iceberg. There's been some really strange mechanics, bugs, and even drama over the years that I'm excited to cover today, but my memory is not perfect, so I want to give a quick shout out to two players, Ockways and Part, for helping me make this video. Veteran players sticking around and sharing their experiences are what makes stuff like this possible. During the creation of this video, I was excited to say that I made the first PokeMMO Iceberg, but yeah, the legendary Mega Bladers from the Spanish-speaking PokeMMO community, of course, already made that over 2 years ago, and he made 2 of them. What a god. Definitely go check him out if you haven't. But thankfully, I haven't watched either of his videos, which means I won't be biased in making mine, and we both have very different perspectives, so definitely check out both of these videos if you're interested in watching more PokeMMO deep dive content. But now, it is finally time to go ahead and reveal the iceberg. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you don't know, an iceberg is essentially layers from starting from the top being the least interesting, going down to the bottom being the most interesting of content that I've picked out to discuss today. Just one little tagline, bullet points, some of which you may recognize, some of which you may not. I'd be really shocked how many people get all of these correct, but let me know in the comments how many of these you guys knew today while I go over them. Alright, but let's just go ahead and start with the first section, starting with Johtomorrow. Johtomorrow, or Johtomorrow, refers to players constantly asking or constantly being hyped up that Johto could technically drop tomorrow within PokeMMO. We were waiting for the addition of the Johto region in PokeMMO for an extremely long time, and people just sort of kept hoping that, you know what, it's going to be tomorrow, guys, and they often told new players when they would ask in global chat, when is Johto coming, and they would always say Johtomorrow, Johto tomorrow. Johto was always tomorrow because Johto could always technically be tomorrow, but Johto didn't happen for quite a long time. Johtomorrow was said for at least 2 to 4 years. Next up is Soon TM. Soon TMs comes from the PokeMMO devs never wanting to set a date to release anything, or even if they do set a date, it ends up being kind of missed and ends up becoming Soon TM. Soon TM is just a joke at this point because everything could be coming Soon TM. One of the most egregious examples was the PokeMMO Anniversary event. This was back with the 10th anniversary event, and you can see in the top left-hand corner all of the scratched out dates up here. This was posted on the official PokeMMO update page by the devs. You can see March 29th crossed out, April 5th, April 31st, May 10th. Now, you know what? It's just going to be Soon TM. They missed so many dates for the anniversary event that it just became a gag, and they embraced it. Garchomp No SD. Garchomp No SD is a really simple one. It simply refers to the fact that Garchomp cannot learn Swords Dance. It's been physically removed from its move pool because it was deemed to be too powerful in PokeMMO. Especially with no access to fairy types within the game, Garchomp is already an extremely powerful Pokemon, ranking at the second most played PvP Pokemon at the moment, even without Swords Dance. Swords Dance would just allow another way for it to dominate and set up and sweep teams. 1 out of 30k. If you're familiar with my content, you're probably familiar with 1 out of 30k. 1 out of 30k simply refers to the shiny rate within PokeMMO being 1 out of 30,000, the hardest shiny rate of any Pokemon game by far. And now to finish off level 1, the easiest of the iceberg, with Q. Q refers to one of the main administrators of PokeMMO. Specifically, I wanted to call out this admin because they are known for being a little sassy with their replies, which I am a huge fan of. How many times in your life do you get to see a game dev replying to someone on Reddit kind of sassing them since they got banned for botting? He says, okay, let me be clearer for you. You were reported by another player. The script you were using was shit, mate. The other players who shiny hunt in that area could even tell you were cheating. I love stuff like that. Q gets the thumbs up from me. Let's go ahead and move into level 2. Now, level 2 gets a little more specific. Let's see how many of these you know. Rare Candy level 100. Rare Candy level 100 is a mechanic within PokeMMO that used to work to where if you used a rare candy on a Pokemon that was unevolved and level 100, it would actually still allow you to evolve them, as you can see here in the little video guide that I did. Now, during the making of this video, I actually tried it and it didn't work. So I don't know if this was patched out without people knowing or without it even being talked about, but I discovered that in this video. The Ban Hammer. The band hammer refers to a big yellow golden hammer backslot item that can only be held by the PokeMMO admins and staff within the game. To my understanding, it has no actual in-game effect, it's just a cool visual to let you know to watch out. Jumpeon. Now, I have a whole other video on my channel that goes over the myth and the legend of Jumpeon in a lot more detail, but essentially, Jumpeon is a prank that arose back in the day. Many forum posts arose and people always asked in chat, how can I get Jumpeon? How can I jump? There was a mechanic back in the day where if a player were to cut down a tree and go over it, or sometimes even jump over other players within the game, it would show a little jump animation even though they were just walking through or passing by something or someone. Players often asked, hey, how did you do that? How did you jump? Not knowing it was just a little engine quirk, and thus the meme was born. Whenever anybody asked, hey, how do you jump? They'd always say, you need Jumpeon. Eventually, that meme would be fully embraced in one of the April Fool's events in-game by the developers, with them adding the Jump Stone, which is an item that you click that lets you jump in-game. If you want to see more about Jumpeon, you can go ahead and Google PokeMMO Jumpeon Explained. BW2. Now, BW2 just simply refers to Black and White 2, the next possible Pokemon games that could get added to the game if they were to add more regions, now that regions 1 through 5 are within PokeMMO. Now, it's also important to note that the devs did say at one point, that I should have a video on this somewhere, that if they were going to add Black and White 2, it would specifically be for engine reasons and to actually make the game run smoother to transition to other future regions, or even be able to add more specific content. And once again, I have a full video covering in depth our information we have at the moment on Black and White 2. It should be linked in the description down below. Q actually even goes on to talk about this, that he thinks they do have the possibility of Gen 6 later on. A lot of people doubt their ability to add Gen 6, but Q himself has said they do have that possibility, and people don't appreciate how much research and development has gone into this game for it to function at all. He goes on to later say our major options for content are transitioning to Black, White 2 and Johto. This was talked about before Johto was even released. If you want to see more about this, link in the description. And then the last thing for level 2 of the iceberg, secret fly locations. Now, what secret fly locations mostly refers to are parts of the map that you can fly to even though you wouldn't normally be able to. For example, if you click on all of the green little dots around Unova, you can't fly to any of them except for one. For whatever reason, you can fly to Abundant Shrine. Now, this may be obvious to a lot of players, but this is actually a mechanic that I didn't learn about until many, many years later. Probably I only learned about it around a year or so ago. And Abundant Shrine is a really important fly location to have access to for alpha spawns that can sometimes happen here, certain shiny hunts, as well as berry farming locations. You can see there's nice 3 plots right here. If there's other fly locations that you may be able to fly to that you don't think you'd be able to, let me know in the comments down below. You can't even fly to Anvil Town, but you can fly to Abundant Shrine. Kind of weird. Moving on to level 3. Level 3 consists of some mysterious old mechanics, player names, and even PvP stuff, alongside some insane Pokeyen stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Frags. Frags refers to one of the best PvP players to ever play PokeMMO, probably the best. The most impressive thing about Frags is his continued dominance over the years. This is the team tournament general standings from 2013 all the way to 2022. Now, this is a team effort, so this is not just Frags, but Frags is an executive in the roster for AW, or Asgard Warriors, and has been for a very long time. AW is one of the longest lasting teams within PokeMMO as well, and Asgard Warriors are considered to be the best PvP team in all of PokeMMO, and have been for a while. They've fought back and forth here and there with things like LYLE, which will pop up later, but nowadays, Asgard Warriors has definitely reigned supreme far above the rest, being over 180 points above second place, 489 total points versus 309. This is a post back in 2014 from one of the other best players at the time, Double JJ, who was also a member of Team LYLE back then, one of the biggest members, if not a co-captain, and is now part of the tier council due to his supreme reign in PvP as well. And back in 2014, he said that King Bowser and Frags are the 2 best players. They are top tier in PokeMMO PvP. And what is so poetic about all of this, what is so incredible about looking back at old stuff and seeing how good Frags was and always has been, is the fact that this was not planned. And even during the making of this video, If I head to PvP, go to matchmaking, sign up, and go over to leaderboards, Frags is rank 2 right now. This very instant, he is rank 2 in the world in PokeMMO PvP for the most played tier in OU. There have been times where I've been able to scroll through all of the tiers, OU, UU, NU, and just see Frag's name within the right here. I didn't even plan for this. NU. Frags is currently ranked number 19. Let's see if I didn't see him in the UU list as well, but that's the craziest thing about Frags, is that he's been playing for so long, and he's been dominant for so long. I don't think there's another player that will ever be like Frags. And I don't think many players or enough players know his name, especially newer players. If you're watching this PokeMMO Iceberg 1 or 2 years from now, I encourage you to check the PvP leaderboards and see if Frags is still there. If he is, leave a comment and let me know. 255 EVs. 255 EVs refers to the fact that you used to be able to EV train Pokemon up to 255. Now, that's actually a waste, and nowadays it caps at 252 per stat. The reason being is that EVs divide by 4. 4 EVs equal 1 stat at level 100. So if you use an extra 3 EVs in a stat and leveled up to 255, those 3 EVs actually equate to no gained stats. It's just a waste. But that's how PokeMMO was traditionally programmed. Now, PokeMMO went on to later add this cap of 252 to allow players to easily EV train their Pokemon a bit better. But it's still possible, very, very rare, to find EV trained Pokemon with 255 EVs in their slots. 255 EV Pokemon are exceedingly rare, way rarer than just a 2012 Pokemon to exist. It's really hard to find them in game, but thankfully I did find a screenshot on Reddit of one of the oldest PokeMMO UIs, and that's what a 255 EV Pokemon looked like in 2012. Dev Vanities. Dev Vanities, or Developer Vanities, or other known as the Big 3, refer to probably the 3 most expensive vanities in the entire game. There's technically one more that's more expensive, but we'll talk about it in due time. This refers to the Desu Lab Coat, named after the developer Desu, the Electric Storm, just a cool vanity modeled by one of the developers, and the Q Hat. Now, these were the first vanities to ever be added to PokeMMO way back in 2013. Nowadays, these vanities go anywhere from around 10 to 15 billion Pokeyen. I know that's a lot, and they're hard to market watch because they're being sold through trade chat and whispers of extremely rich players. People ask a lot of questions when I say the words 10 to 15 bill. How do you even acquire that much wealth? How do you even trade that much wealth? Isn't the cash stack in PokeMMO, the max cash stack, around 2 billion Pokeyen? And I can thankfully answer both of those questions. In regards to how that amount of wealth is achieved, it's usually from investments. It's usually from players who either played back in 2013 and just bought one of these vanities, or maybe they ended up buying a Scythe or a flaming blue skull mask, which is around 1 to 2 bill. These other vanities that just got hyper expensive over time. These vanities are exceedingly rare and exceedingly expensive. The player base was so small back then, and if you come into the game now and you're a huge Goku fan, a huge DBZ fan, and you want to go for the Electric Storm, there's only so many that can go around. And as time goes on, more and more get into the hands of collectors, more and more get into the hands of the wealthy, and it's hard to get your own. That's just the reality of rare collectibles like this. There's nothing wrong with it, just an interesting thing to think about. Now, in terms of how this level of wealth is traded, since you can't buy it with pure cash, usually what happens is you'll take a bulk of other expensive items. Trades like this will go something like, okay, I want to buy myself an Electric Storm. I have 2 billion Pokeyen cash, I have 4 orange flaming skulls, 6 scythes to trade you, 2 6x31 shiny Charizards, 2 6x31 shiny Venusaurs, 1 6x31 shiny Blastoise, etc, etc. It's done in these hugely bulk trades of valuables and vanities that just have to add up to around 15 bill to get your full value out of these items. There's often a middleman involved, usually with a developer or a very, very trusted member of the community, because transferring over this kind of wealth through multiple trades can obviously be just a little scary. Now, I love talking about these vanities because it's so fun to calculate just how disgustingly expensive they are. If you were to buy enough 1000 RP vouchers to be able to buy these items just off the GTL, buy enough 1000 RP vouchers to be able to get the 12.5 billion, let's call it on average Pokeyen, to be able to achieve these items, with 1000 RP vouchers being the best item to buy and sell for pure Pokeyen in game if you choose to do so, at around 2.4 mil Pokeyen each at the moment. We are looking at 12.5 billion divided by 2.4 million equals, and then this number times 10 US dollars, because that's the amount it costs. You're looking at around $52,000. You could buy a Tesla, or you could buy one little vanity within PokeMMO. Uber Wobbufett. Uber Wobbufett simply refers to the fact that the Pokemon Wobbufett was in the Uber's tier for a really long time in PokeMMO. Not even just in PokeMMO though, it was actually in and out of Ubers within traditional Pokemon competitive as well, boasting the ability Shadow Tag, having its extreme surprising bulk with its insane HP stat and decent enough defense stats, rocking the moves like Mirror Coat and Counter. It would just always be able to come in, trap a Pokemon, and guarantee a KO, as long as it clicked whether the correct move, whether Mirror Coat or Counter. Shadow Tag has always been a super problematic move and really promotes a lot of unskilled play, so it makes sense that Wobbufett was unfun to play against as well as uncompetitive, and therefore banned to the Uber tiers for many years within PokeMMO. If you don't know, the Uber tier is essentially just a ban list. Anything in the Uber tiers is officially unusable in PvP since there isn't an Uber's playable tier within PokeMMO. And that is the end of level 3. Let's go ahead and move on to level 4. We're getting much deeper in the iceberg now, and I'm super curious how many of these points you guys will know. But if you knew everything on this list, once again, feel free to flex on me in the comments. Starting off level 4 with LYLE. Now, this is going to be a back in my time kind of story, because LYLE refers to Team LYLE, which was by far the first best PvP team within PokeMMO. Team LYLE was so influential, they really kicked off the PvP scene within PokeMMO itself. Team LYLE housed most of the best PvP players in the game back then, with people like Frags, King Bowser, and Double JJ. Not to mention people like J-Stud and K9XL. People like Burnt Zebra and The Blue also come to mind. I'm sure I'm missing names. I can't really give proper credit to everyone due to my foggy memory, but what I can say is how much LYLE impacted PokeMMO. Not only the PvP scene, but LYLE was really the first celebrities of PokeMMO. People would constantly copy their iconic look of that halo mask in-game. It was so iconic and so incorporated with Team LYLE that almost all of their teammates were always using it. If you saw someone with this helmet, you could assume they were in Team LYLE, but if just in case, you could always check their team tag to the left of their name. Team LYLE just always seemed to be one step ahead of everyone, always in their TeamSpeak channel, talking and collaborating on what the next game-changing and meta-defining Pokemon will be within PvP. Everybody followed Team LYLE, and everybody saw them warp the game for many years until another PvP team or other players could finally be up to them. They were just so ahead of the game for so many years. They were the first dominant team within PokeMMO, and they will never be forgotten because of that. Party Hat. Party Hat refers to the rarest vanity in all of PokeMMO, even rarer than the Electric Storm, the Q Hat, and the Desu Lab Coat. The Party Hat is a one-of-one vanity. There is only one that exists in the entire game, and it is owned by a player by the name Teresa. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to hold the Party Hat and actually equip it to my character. The only one in the entire game. And thankfully, that video will be coming out sometime in December. So if you're interested in learning the full story of the Party Hat, how it came to exist, which is a crazy, shocking story, not one that I expected, make sure to check out that video. When it comes to the value of the Party Hat, it's just unattainable. There's no real number you can put in terms of Pokeyen on the Party Hat. It's the only one of it that exists in the entire game. Someone who wants it would pay whatever price is named. But from my understanding, Teresa has absolutely no interest in selling it, so please don't spam them with offers or DMs in their mail. PSL. PSL refers to the PokeMMO Super League, which is one of the most, probably the most competitive series of tournaments that exists within PokeMMO, at least unofficially. There are the official team tournaments within PokeMMO, but these are unofficial tournaments held by the best players. Now, unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with PSL, but it hasn't really been active since 2019, but it did go on for a very long time before that, and there was even betting and gambling on PSL similar to esports events before it stopped running. PSL was just a huge part and a big impact on serious competitive PokeMMO play. December 11th, 2012. Now this date, December 11th, 2012, refers to a very specific one within PokeMMO history. If you check out a lot of 2012 Pokemon, you'll see them with this exact date, 12-11-2012 at 9:37 p.m. You'll see many 2012 Pokemon with the exact same catch date. Now, why does that happen? Just by quickly checking the GTL, I found 3 other Pokemon with the exact same catch date and the exact same time. What happened, from my understanding, is that at that date, at that time, PokeMMO had a specific server reset that I believe added catch locations at all to the Pokemon's summary page. So any Pokemon caught prior to this date all got updated to this date. So this is the earliest date that can exist on a Pokemon within PokeMMO. Anything caught after will have its own date. For example, this one caught on December 22nd in 2012 at 3 a.m. A cool little thing to know about if you care about 2012 collecting. Some people kind of like this date, but it's not really that special since most of that year has that date anyways. It's really up to you. Just a fun little thing to know about. Time for the last topic on level 4. 2018 dungeons. 2018 Dungeons refers to the developers announcing that they were working on dungeons back in 2018. At least some people claim they announced it, some people claim they only hinted at it. It's kind of hard to find those old posts. But dungeons would have been a raid-like mechanic that would have allowed players to access catching legendary Pokemon, most likely as their prize. They were talked about being around 1 hour per completion, and there was a lot of hype around them that eventually, sadly, went nowhere. During all the frustrations and misunderstandings, Darkshade went on to post this back in 2019, early 2019, January, to clear things up. Alright, this is getting a little ridiculous. Let me just set a few things straight. I'm going to do a mass response, and hopefully it should encompass the answers to most of your questions. We first mentioned our intention to create dungeons a long time ago. Why? Because legendaries are a very hot topic. We received many questions about why they were not introduced. We knew we did not want to make them available in the traditional sense and instead make them a little more prestigious. So after a talk among the development team, we decided that dungeons would be the best way to handle them. So when the question comes up, why can't I capture a legendary? The answer becomes because we're saving them for dungeons. A lot more satisfying answer because it shows our intent to make the game more interesting instead of just withholding legendaries for no reason. So naturally, over time, the next question becomes, when are you releasing dungeons? And we didn't know. I think the first time we mentioned them publicly, we hadn't even reached Hoenn. There was a lot to think about. Eventually became a roundabout answer. Q summer 2018, we now decide is a good time to perhaps make a start on fulfilling that dungeon promise. We've just released Gen 5, and that should be a decent amount of content to keep players happy for some time. We discussed concepts, design maps, sprite tiles, draw maps, and make a decent start. But let me tell you, this is no easy feat. We want these dungeons to last. We want to bring you content that is probably, at least in the planning stages, going to take at least an hour of your time to complete, built entirely from the ground up. We're talking a full custom large-scale map with brand new overworld aesthetics, proper boss fights, interesting puzzles, the whole shebang. It's quite the task, but we think we're capable of it. We announced that we started to work on the first dungeon a little after this time, and the first one would be tied to the Kanto region. However, something came up: RMT issues, other features, holiday events. We had to put our work on dungeons aside for a little while because we wanted to give them the attention they required and not rush them. This is nobody's fault, but I think a lot of our players would have been unhappy if these things were not dealt with. So there may be a few questions here. Why not give us an ETA? Because we don't have one at this time. I'm not sure if we ever actually have given one, and if we did, at this stage, it's incorrect. Why don't you show us what you've got so far? We want it to be a surprise. Showing you that would be less exciting on release and also give away which legendary we have decided to build a dungeon around, at least at this stage. It's not something we want to do. Are you making all of this up? No, we're not crazy enough to tell our players that we started working on something just to keep them on the hook. We don't stand to gain anything in that scenario except distrust in the long term. Look, we're just as excited about dungeons as you are. We've had a lot of fun discussing the concepts and building something fresh. It's the first time we've really been able to put our collective skill set to the test in an attempt to create something new. As for when this first dungeon will get its eventual release, we don't have a satisfying answer for you yet, unfortunately, but I'm fairly certain we're all pretty eager to want to begin building it again. Now, unfortunately, all of this was written a very long time ago, and we haven't really had an update yet. All of it does seem pretty legit, though, and Darkshade does come off very trustworthy and very honest, in my opinion, in this forum post. Now, will we ever see dungeons in PokeMMO? I personally really hope so, no matter what the rewards are. I think some sort of go-to endgame PVM content would be probably the most beneficial update to the game that most people could sink their teeth into. But anyways, that's enough about that. It's time to move on to level 5, the bottom tier of the iceberg. But quickly before jumping into the final level, I think it's time for a quick snack break. Are you busy watching YouTube videos when you still haven't gotten all of your Christmas presents yet? I have the thing for you if that's the case. Tokyo Treat Box and Sakura Co. are an easy way to import authentic Japanese snacks straight to your home for your own pleasure and enjoyment, or a great gift to family and friends who enjoy things like anime or just traditional Japanese culture. The perfect gift for the weeb in your life. With up to 20 snacks to try in each box, there's going to be no shortage of different flavors and fun things to try. This month's theme for December being Snacktacular Christmas, where you can go through and learn about all the festivities, like the finger lickin' festivity, where KFC has been a classic Christmas dinner in Japan since the 1970s. Sounds like a good dinner to me. I'm a huge KFC fan. There's truly tons of unique snacks and flavors you can't really get here in the US, especially at this price point. One of my favorite options are usually the Kit Kats, because they get some really cool unique flavors over there, which are almost always incredible. Last month was peach, and I really love those. This is looking like some sort of strawberry cake or maybe strawberry red velvet. I'm gonna try this ASAP. Time to eat a Kit Kat like a heathen. They smell awesome. Oh man. To me, it tastes mostly like a chocolate strawberry cake, or maybe even a chocolate covered strawberry, which is one of my girlfriend's favorite desserts, so I know I'm going to save her one of those. And that's one of the big benefits of these treat boxes, that you can share them and spread the love with friends and families if you don't necessarily like a specific flavor. But it's always good to try new things. Now, the Tokyo Treat Box is fun, but the Sakura Co box is a little more authentic, a little more serious, and a little more permanent. Snacks are great, but once you eat them, they're gone. Sakura Co gives you a more permanent feature to your household to remember your purchase. You always get some nice artwork with the Sakura Co box, which I like to use as a bookmark. And then you get a really pretty booklet, like these other one, with holidays in Hokkaido being the theme of this Christmas. And this booklet and box covers a lot more of Japan's history, covering the Hokkaido's confectionery, which is their sweets shop, which dated back to the 50s in Japan. The box comes with some nice teas, along with tons of great snacks like the previous box, but at the very bottom of this box, this is my personal favorite thing, and this is going to be a permanent item which you can have forever to always appreciate. And this month's permanent item is a beautiful little dishware that is traditional to Japan, having some beautiful patterns on it. I love that you can even eat your snacks right off of this dish that it comes with, giving you a little bit of a taste of Japan from the comfort of your own home. Now, I'm a big tea guy, so let's go ahead and give it a try. That's a nice strong green tea, which is honestly really refreshing from what I would normally drink. But I think I have a way to make it taste a little better. Oh yeah, for me, that's just right. Now, thank you for watching, and keep in mind, if you are going to get yourself a Tokyo Treat or Sakura Co box this December, make sure to use my link and code in the description. It's going to save you $5 on your first purchase, so make sure to abuse that deal. Well, let's go ahead and get back to the iceberg. On to the final level of the iceberg, let's first cover PokeDailies. PokeDailies were daily PokeMMO PvP events started and hosted by Grek, and then later hosted and held by Node. These events ran every single day for months, just ran by the players as unofficial events. These events really kept the PokeMMO scene active and allowed newbie players like myself to rock my shuckle in more casual tournaments. These tournaments were so influential, we essentially have them today in the place of community combats, which are automated tournaments that just take place every single day. A lot of players didn't think you needed PvP tournaments every day, but with all the different tiers and different teams people want to try, I think it adds so much to the PokeMMO and especially the MMO aspect to have at least one tournament every single day. North Pole. The North Pole refers to the old map location within PokeMMO known as the North Pole. It existed only for the Xmas event back in 2016. You can even find Pokemon with the caught and breeding location marked as North Pole. And if you're really lucky, you might even see a shiny Pokemon with the North Pole caught location. These are exceedingly rare and looked for by certain specific collectors. as this location can no longer be reached in-game and may never be able to be reached ever again. GM menu. Now, it makes sense that the staff members of PokeMMO, especially the higher up, should have access to some sort of in-game menu that has things like your ability to ban a player, time out a player, or control the game in certain environments. Now, we never really knew to what extent that was until recently. I have 3 images to show you guys today. One going over admin controls, one going over a custom vanity menu, and then one going over a chat option. Let's first go over the admin control menu with the bulk of the options here. We see commands, captcha history, watch list, support archives. We see a teleport menu, an ID search, a sound debugger, battle debuggers, and other things like teleporting to specific players, being able to kick specific players, spectating players, banning characters, force unstucking people, ending someone's battle specifically, unlocking yourself, clearing flags, GM mode. There's tons of just different things here. GMs can even open their PC from anywhere in the game. In the bottom right hand corner, you can see that open PC GM command. Now, all of this makes sense, and they probably should have access to these things, but it's just kind of crazy to actually see a screenshot showing this. And the only reason we actually have access to this screenshot is because there was once a bug that allowed for mobile players to see this menu in game. It was only around for a very short period of time, and I'm super glad we got a screenshot of it. And with this screenshot, we can see a special custom wardrobe that the devs have access to. We see a lion costume and a lion hood. We see an reload add-ons.pack that could be able to load them in files. You see total cost 0 reward points. Now, I don't know if they're able to just cycle through all vanities for free. You know, it makes sense. That's okay, obviously, if they can. They're just the devs. It makes sense for them to be able to do so. But it's interesting to see this weird layout. Why do they have a custom layout? It's kind of interesting. And this is a pretty crazy one. It only makes sense, but the PokeMMO devs can actually see the in-game chat while not even logged into the game. They actually have some sort of website to be able to do so. Apologies for the poor quality. That's just what exists, what's left of this screenshot from back in the day. And a big thank you to, once again, to Awkways and Park for actually sourcing these screenshots to me and allowing the spread of this information. But you can see they have a way to an action button and a way to view the player. They probably can ban or kick the players as well, all from the comfort of their browser. A pretty cool and convenient way to be able to moderate the game. It only makes sense, but it's cool to see the image, you know, put to the thought. Now, time for the final iceberg topic, one name trade. One name trade is a strange phenomenon that I didn't know about until recently as well when discussing with Awkways. One name trade refers to a staff member of the PokeMMO community at the time named Jin confirming that selling OTs for Pokeyen isn't necessarily against the rules. By selling OTs, I of course mean original trainer names, essentially being your IGN. So selling usernames or in-game names isn't technically against the rules, but stay with me now because I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. He goes on to say, it is against the rules if you trade multiple names, but technically you can trade one. Let's just read the conversation. Also keep in mind, these are just random Discord DMs, not exactly set in stone law to take as the game rules. But the person said, the player said, someone asked me to sell one of my usernames and I'm curious if that's allowed. Obviously not for real currency and not the account itself, just the name. Wanted confirmation that it would be okay before even considering it. I don't think it would count as RNT since it's just a name, not the actual account, but wanted to be safe. Jin went on to say, it's not encouraged, but sure, you can do it. Now, those were some DMs in 2020. There are some other DMs in 2021 in August that say a little more. Keep in mind, these are separate DMs with a different player, someone else asking them whether it's illegal or not to trade names. Jin goes on to say, it's not entirely illegal, I guess. Names aren't assets, and the issues we've had with people in the past is they've tried to hoard names and save them up to be traded, a huge MMO issue. If it's just one, I don't think there'd be a problem, but I wouldn't want everybody to trade their names since those trades aren't really that clear in the player's history, and it's pretty confusing. It makes sense. It's really hard for them to sort of go by against the rules of no scamming. It's hard for them to actually enforce any of that with name trades. He goes on to say, just don't trade multiple names, please. That's something we actively punish. Now, having read through all of this, I personally would never even risk selling an IGN or username or even recommend it. I doubt casual DMs on Discord from years ago should be taken as official rules for the game. But obviously, do whatever you want as at your own risk, but please be careful. But that does cover the entire iceberg. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching. And once again, just shout out to all the PokeMMO veterans and everyone who stuck around for so long to not only improve the game, but also talk to me and we can reminisce on the old times and keep stuff like this alive. The spread of information and the continuation of information is super, super important. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please make sure to leave a like on it to let me know. It lets me know what kind of content you guys want to see more of in the future, and it also just helps me out if this was worth your time. Dislike the video if you didn't enjoy it, that's totally okay. Subscribe to the channel for daily PokeMMO videos. I do upload every single day, as well as stream 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET on Twitch, linked down below. Discord's linked down below as well if you're looking to join a community and learn a lot about the game, and if you want to go above and beyond and support my channel, if I've earned it from you, that's very important. YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo are linked down below, and they help me stay full-time and help me make big banger projects like this. Have a great day. Thank you for watching, and just keep playing PokeMMO, keep appreciating its history, and keep creating new history as the future comes. Yo, Patrouski here. Firstly, thank you so much for watching till the very end of the video. I truly hope it was worth your time today. And secondly, thanks to everybody whose name is listed here. You guys all go above and beyond and allow me to make daily content. Thanks again. Have a great day.